Hello everybody, it is Bonecanoe86 / Sudden Plant here, and I'm here with my buddy the Paratrooper.
How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty awesome, aren't you?
You just got done watching the 76ers game. How about that?
That was a great victory. We totally crushed those Raptors.
We crushed those guys.
Yeah, it was like, what was the final score?
It's 97-62.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
It was a slaughter. Made us happy.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're not here to talk about basketball today. We're here to talk about our special version of Monopoly we like to call Super Monopoly.
You know, Bonecanoe, I'm sure that everybody out there right now is thinking, I wonder what Super Monopoly is.
Yeah, you might be thinking it's like regular Monopoly, but super. And we're going to explain to you exactly why it's super and why it just enhances the Monopoly experience.
And once you start playing Monopoly, the Super Monopoly way, you will never be able to play it the regular way again.
Yeah, the regular way will just seem so insufficient compared to this way.
I know.
Alright, and so you might be asking, why is this uploaded to Bonecanoe86 instead of Sudden Plant? Well, this is a gaming channel. This is a game after all. Makes sense to me. So, are you ready to tell them what we're going to do?
Yeah, we're going to explain the rules of our Super Monopoly game to all of you members of the gaming community out there. So all of you can take down some notes, and possibly you might want to try this out yourself.
Yeah, because all these things are going to be things that you can do. Now, the only things that you'll need are if you want to play this game, you need some sort of piece of paper, and you need a calculator, because there's a little bit of math involved. Nothing too hard, just like adding and multiplying.
Yeah, but nothing that you can't get a hold of.
Yes. All right. So anyway, the Super Monopoly adds a few basic features to the game. The first thing we're going to talk about is inflation. There is now inflation in the game, and how that works. Alright, every time you pass go, you put a little mark on the piece of paper. And, no matter who passes go, it's a mark. And once you've gotten to the 6th go crossing, then inflation sets in. In the standard Super Monopoly game, inflation is 20%. So everything goes up by 1.2 cents, meaning, and this applies to go. This applies to the cost of properties, to the cost of houses and hotels, the things you'll get in the community chance cards and things like that.
So pretty much, let's say that it's your 6th time crossing go. The next time somebody crosses go, normally you collect $200, but now, since inflation has set in, since all of the prices increased 20%, you now get $240.
Yeah, so you see where things start to pick up there. Now, there's one thing that's similar to inflation, but very different. This is what I like to call price wars. And you can initiate a price war when you land on a property that you already own. I mean, in regular Monopoly, when you land on a property you already own, you can't do anything.
Yeah, it's just like a free space for you.
Yeah, just like nothing happens. But in our turn, if you land on a property you already own, you initiate a price war. What that does is that increase all your prices by 15% and all your opponent's prices by 10%. So pretty much what I mean by prices is the cost that somebody pays you when they land on your property, whether it's regular or has a house or any number of houses or a hotel on it. So let's say I have a property that the rent is usually $10. Let's say I get a price war. Let's say I get a few price wars and it adds up to, let's say it's double now.
Right.
Then if the Paratrooper here lands on it, he owes me 20 instead of 10.
Right.
And price wars have a way of starting out slow but really building up, because the further into the game you go, the more properties are going to be bought up.
Absolutely.
And there's generally a rule that you can only do a price war once every time you go around go. Like, once you pass go, you can do one price war, and you can't do it again until you pass go again. Although sometimes, for the heck of it, we initiate an all-out mode where you can price war no matter how many times. But usually
it is possible that if you really want to go all out with the price wars and say, okay, anytime you land on a property that is yours, you can initiate a price war. It is quite possible, and you and I have both experienced this numerous amount of times, where your price of the property now, that person now has to pay you 300 times what the initial rent would be.
Yeah. So it is entirely possible to, the highest, in regular Monopoly, the highest amount of money you can owe someone is if you land on Boardwalk with a house or a mansion on it or a hotel. You end up paying $2,000. In our version of the game, you can pay hundreds of thousands, or even, on rare occasion, millions of dollars to the other player.
And that also reminds me of another point that I want to bring up for this round. Now I know what you're thinking out there. There is no way that any Monopoly set has millions of dollars in order to pay to another person. But for this game, and for this game alone, we have a special rule that's called the debt factor.
Yeah, basically, if you want to prolong the game a little bit, like if you're having fun and you don't want it to happen, you can allow the other person to go into debt to you, where basically the bank will pay you what the other player is owed, and the player just pays the bank back. But once, if you're in debt, you're not allowed to buy any new houses or hotels or properties.
Right.
Because presumably your credit rating is just really bad by that point.
Right, yeah.
So, you don't have to allow the other player to go into debt, but if you want the game to go longer and give your opponents a fighting chance to be a nice guy, then you can allow debt.
Oh, and one other thing is, if this game that we play, once you have used up all of your Monopoly money, tell the audience what we then need to do.
Well, since the prices get so high, you're eventually going to need some other form of currency. So I would recommend pieces from another game. We
use Stratego.
Yeah, the Paratrooper and I use, we use Stratego pieces, and you know how Stratego pieces have numbers on them representing what rank they are. We take that number and say, okay, that's that many thousands. So if I have a piece that says 7, that's a $7,000 piece, and we just use those. And if we need to, we say the red ones are 10,000. Or 1,000 times their face value, and the blue ones
are 2,000.
10,000 times their face value. But that's just what we do. I mean, you can use any other pieces, or you can just write it down on paper, but I think it's more fun to actually use pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. So we've covered inflation and price wars. Now is the important factor of tax. Yes, there is taxation in this version of Monopoly, and tax is a very simple to understand 10%.
10%.
And you pay tax when you pass go, when you buy a property, or when you buy houses and hotels.
Right.
And so let's say I pass go, I get $200, but I also have to pay $20 into the middle of the board. At first, you pay it to the middle of the board. But then something changes when a player lands on free parking.
Exactly. Oh, one more rule that I want to point out to the audience out there. The only money that you can collect in our Monopoly game that is not taxed is anything that you would get out of a chance or community chest.
Yeah, there's no tax for those things.
Yeah.
So, but now we come to what might be the most fun aspect of our new game, the position of the mayor. What basically happens if you land on free parking, well, first of all, if you're the first person in the game to land on free parking, you get all the tax money that's sitting in free parking.
Right.
Not just that, but you become the mayor.
Which means two very important things happen to you that stems the tide of the game. Number one, you get to collect all of the tax money.
Yes, and you yourself are exempt from taxes.
Exactly. And number two, the mayor cannot go to jail for any reason.
Yes, the mayor cannot go to jail. So basically, if you land on a space or get a card that says go to jail, you don't go to jail.
Yeah, if you're the mayor and you land on the space that says go to jail, it's just like a free space for you.
Exactly. Now another player, if one of the other players goes to jail, you, as the mayor, have the ability to keep them there for 5 turns without any possibility of them getting out.
Yeah. Normally in a regular Monopoly game, once a player goes to jail, they can try and roll doubles or pay their way out. But the mayor, you can try and offer the mayor $50 to let you out of jail, but he'll just laugh at you.
Exactly. Yeah, the mayor can keep you there up to 5 turns if he wants. And what happens if another player lands on free parking, they instantly become the mayor. So from then on, they get all the tax money that comes in, and there's a $100 bonus for when you become mayor.
Yes.
So basically, and the other thing is, if you're the mayor and you land on free parking again, you are no longer the mayor. Now, if you're playing with a group of multiple people, usually the position of the mayor becomes vacant and it goes back to the middle of the board. But how we play, if you only have 2 people playing, the mayor just switches to the other person.
Right.
So think about this. If I'm the mayor and I have him in jail, but I land on free parking,
I'm immediately out of jail.
Yeah, suddenly he's the mayor and he's out of jail. So that's when you get free.
You got it.
So the mayor is a very fun position to have. Now keep in mind, it doesn't keep you safe from having to pay, fees or anything like that, like if you land on mansions, but it's still a cool position to have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And also, the mayor can keep rolling doubles as long as he wants, because the 3 double rule doesn't matter to the mayor.
I know it doesn't.
Yeah. And we have one more thing in this version of Monopoly. Now, this is the one thing that you really can't do at home, because it's a series of cards that we like to call Boogie cards that we created. In fact, let's show the audience our stack of Boogie cards. Yeah, these are homemade cards that we made with just your regular index cards that you can buy at any place.
Let's show the audience some of them.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, we have one here that says, 1 payment waiver good on any property, keep until needed.
Yeah, so basically if I land on a property that has a hotel owned by the Paratrooper, he's like, pay up. And I'm like, no, I don't have to do that. I can cash that in.
Yeah.
So you got that, and, there's plenty of good stuff in here. Yeah.
Here's one of our favorites. Argue with wife. She leaves you and takes half your cash.
Yeah.
Damn women.
Yeah, women. Yeah, they take all your stuff, and so you have all this. You really have a lot of good stuff, and you have cards like this. Get double go money next go. So there's a lot of fun stuff in there.
Oh, and don't forget, I'm not sure exactly where it is in the pack, but we have a very small few of our so-called dangerous Boogie cards.
Yeah, they're ones that drastically can change the game. Now, we sort of have a rule that, early on in the game, if one pops up, we don't really read it.
The only time that any of these cards can go into effect is if it's agreed upon by both of the players.
Yes. Now, how do you get a Boogie card? You have to roll a 7 or an 11.
Just like it's easy to remember. Just the convenience stores, 7-Eleven.
Exactly. So, if you roll a 7 or an 11, you go about your turn normally, but at the end of the turn, you get your Boogie card. Let's say you roll a 7, and you land on a community chest card. You pick up the community chest card and read that first. But after you've read that, then you pick up your Boogie card. So, like I said, it's the only aspect of this game that you can't exactly reproduce at home, but you can make your own homemade Boogie cards.
Exactly. And don't forget, there's one more very valuable rule that we need to discuss with our audience. It's the so-called transport rule.
Yes. What happens is You know that in Monopoly there's 4 railroads on the board. Now, if you own 2 or more railroads, you can transport between them.
But only once around the board.
Yeah, you can only do it once when you land on it. Like, let's say I own 1 railroad. On the very next turn, I have 2 options. Either I can roll like normal, or I can transport to any of the other ones that I own.
It's it can actually come in very handy if you're about to roll the dice and you might head into an area with a lot of opponent mansions.
Yeah, it can really help you skip mansions. So, but basically on the next turn, when you're at your destination, that is your turn basically. You don't roll after that, and on your next turn, you have to roll. You can't just transport again.
Yeah, unless you roll the dice and you land on another railroad and you cross the board, then you can still keep transporting.
Yeah, so it's a very valuable tool. So what do you think? I think we pretty much covered all the basics of our game.
Oh yes, I think we did.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, these games can get very exciting. Now, the one and only warning I have for this game is you guys know how long regular Monopoly games take.
Monopoly games can take hours.
Now that's regular Monopoly. Super Monopoly games are even longer, as you might expect.
I know.
They can get quite ridiculous. I mean, and that's just with 2 people. If you're going to play with 3 or more people, you better be ready for a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, that Super Monopoly, it's something that the Paratrooper and I invented way back in '07, and we've been playing it, here and there for the past
exactly.
few years, and I gotta tell you, it's a lot of fun, and what he said was entirely right. Once you play it this way, you're never going to want to play regular Monopoly again.
In fact, I have a little story to tell you, Bonecanoe. This was maybe like 2 Christmases ago. My nephew Jake came over to the house to visit, and my dad said to me, "Hey Brian, why don't you play Monopoly with your nephew Jakey, and keep him company?" And he was only 10 years old, so I knew better than to really try a Super Monopoly with him. So I grinned and bared it and played regular Monopoly and sucked it up the best I could. But everybody out there has to realize I only did it for Jakey.
Yeah, I mean it's just not the same once you've played it our way.
Yeah, I mean these rules in our Super Monopoly game, it is technically a grown-up game. I don't really know how well like a 10-year-old kid could really latch on to this and keep track of the math.
Unless he's a really bright kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, this version of Monopoly, I think, is just so much more fun than the regular Monopoly. And, if you want to give it a try, I'd say go for it. But if you're unsure, just stay tuned, because very soon, the Paratrooper and I will give you a live demonstration of Super Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you try this sometime, because it's a lot of fun.
You'll find so.
Alright. Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.